תשמרו בני ישראל אמס השבוס ועשויס es השבוס.
Okay, welcome to everybody. Thanks for coming. We're learning Derech Hashem. We're on page 405 of the Name and Edition, and we're in the section talking about prophecy. So the last few times we were talking about Kishuv, and that's witchcraft and using the names of Hashem to do things which are against nature or manipulating nature, things like that. Today we're going to start the actual more crux of this section, which is prophecy itself. We're going to talk a little bit about how prophecy works, talk about something called Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration, and we will talk about how the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses, is different from that of the other prophets. And we'll talk about in detail what the difference is. And in fact, it's so important that one of the principles of faith of the Rambam is that the prophecy of Moshe is different than all of the other prophets. But first, we're just going to talk about Ruach HaKodesh and how prophecy works. So let's get right into it. It's page 405, and that is section 3, chapter 3. That's where we're starting from. And actually, after the section on prophecy, which that's still probably several more weeks. It happens to be my personal favorite part of the Sefer. It's about, the Ramchal goes through all of the mitzvahs that we do all the time, explaining the reasons for many of the mitzvahs and how Torah learning works, and he goes through all of the holidays and explains the meaning behind them. It's a very exciting. That's in the 4th section of the Sefer. We're on the 3rd section of the Sefer. So we've covered over half of the Sefer now. And Derech Hashem is really, it's like a concise book about all the basic ideas of Judaism. It's like a really important book. The basic machshava, the basic deeper meaning behind the basic things that we do in the Jewish religion. It's a very basic, important sefer. Okay, Hine. Chakak habari yizbarach shemo b'tivo shala adam, shia mislamed mevin umaskel behashkifo al nimsoim ub'chinaisehem. Hashem made human beings that they can observe their surroundings and understand them, and understand the different parts of them. Umimashem izgala lefanav yizbonin v'yidrus ashe'ena mizgala ad she'asikeu v'yamin alav. And based on what a person observes, he can deduce things which he can't necessarily see. I don't know, you can look at things in nature, and based on the things you see in nature, you can make deductions, mathematical deductions. You see how things work, and you see that when you drop something, it goes to the ground, so there's something called gravity. Or you can make observations in the world, and based on what you see, God gave us a human mind that we can contemplate those things, and we can delve into them, and we can be meiv in davar metoch davar, and based on what we see, we can make extrapolations and understand deeper things behind them. That's on a normal physical plane, how Hashem made us. Amnam od gozer sheimatza lo haskala me'ulu mizeh. Now all of that is based on human intellect. God gave us that intellect. But there's also another type of intellect, which is a more lofty, higher type of understanding. V'haskala hanishpas, and it is the understanding that can be bestowed upon a person. V'hainu sheyushbalo shefa mimeni yizbarach shemo al yedei eza emsoim shehechen lazeh, and that is that Hashem will put his shefa. Let's say, again, Rabbi Naaman never translates the word shefa here because he says there's really no English word, but Hashem will bring forth his, let's say, emanations, maybe is a word, or shefa. Shefa is really the word. He will bring down his emanations on a human being so that a human being will understand. So, ubehagia ha'shefa el asichlo, and when that shefa reaches a person from Hashem to the human being, yukva bo yedias inyan ma bebeira bebilti safik ubebilti tos. V'yeda hadavar b'shleimos sibosa v'toldosav kol davar madrigosav v'inyan zanikra Ruach HaKodesh. And when Hashem bestows his shefa upon a person, then he or she will have an understanding, will have a certain idea go into their mind with total clarity, without any doubt whatsoever, without any mistakes, and they will understand something completely. They will understand the reasons, what comes out of it, and everything dependent on its level, and this is what we call Ruach HaKodesh. So there are two ways to understand something. One is the natural, physical way to understand something. That is just using your mind through observation, which I believe people call science nowadays, making observations about the world around us, and based on the facts we gather from our physical observations, we can deduce other things using our logic, our intellect, things like that. Now, that type of intellect, you could make a mistake. Perhaps an observation, something that you observed, was incorrect, or an extrapolation that you made was incorrect. It's possible to make a mistake. So with our physical minds, we can only do the best that we can. However, there's a second form of understanding that a human being can get, and with this form of understanding, there is absolutely no way to make a mistake. And this is Ruach HaKodesh. And Ruach HaKodesh works by Hashem bestowing His Shefa, His emanations on human beings. And through Hashem Shefa, a human being will have a direct understanding of something, and it will be totally clear without any doubt and no mistakes. That is the second way a human being can understand something, and that's through this called Ruach HaKodesh. Now, he didn't tell us how we can obtain Ruach HaKodesh, but there is something called Ruach HaKodesh that a person could learn the correct thing. Okay. V'hinei, b'derech ze yasig inyana ma shebegeder haskala hativis. Now, using Ruach HaKodesh, this second form of higher understanding, a person could understand the natural world, natural things. Ach b'yoser bira k'mo shezacharnu. So, a person, let's say, could perceive certain things about the world using his regular intellect, or he could understand things through Ruach HaKodesh about the natural world through Ruach HaKodesh, meaning he could have understood it through his intellect. But now he's understanding it in a more clear fashion through Ruach HaKodesh. But Ruach HaKodesh has something even greater, besides understanding something on a greater level, and without any doubt. With Ruach HaKodesh, a person can understand things and know things that he wouldn't be able to understand through his natural intellect. Which means that he can know the future, and also he can know the secrets of creation, which he wouldn't be able to understand with his intellect. So Ruach HaKodesh has the benefit that, one, given those things that would be technically possible to understand with our human intellect, we can understand with greater clarity and without any doubt. And also with Ruach HaKodesh, we can learn the future and secret things that are happening. Many of the great rabbis had Ruach HaKodesh, and I heard, first-hand stories about the Stipler from my Rebbe. I think he said his wife, I think it was his third child, she was having a very difficult labor, and it was like very serious issue. So he went into the Stipler, and he asked the Stipler to daven, and the Stipler said, "Oh, don't worry about it, it's fine." And he called the hospital, and the doctor said that everything's fine, everything was taken care of. Somehow the Stipler knew that it was fine. So how he knew? It was Ruach HaKodesh. The Stipler had Ruach HaKodesh. The Chavetz Chaim had Ruach HaKodesh. There's another story with the Stipler. They used to give him lists of names. This I also heard from my Rebbe. You give him a list of names that he could daven for people, So you would write your name down, and then his gabbai would put it on a list, and he would say, like, I forgot what the phrase that he used exactly, but he would go through the list, and he would say, like Hashem Yazor, Hashem Yazor, Hashem Yazor, meaning God should help him, God should help him. And when he got to this one name, I guess he wanted kids, he said Hashem Yerachim. And then he went back, Hashem Yazor, Hashem Yazor, Hashem Yerachim means Hashem should have mercy. Meaning it's like a much more serious thing to say. So the guy was like all nervous, like what happened? So he went another time, and then he put his name in a different order on the list. And the same thing, the Stipler said Hashem Yazor, Hashem Yazor, Hashem Yerachim, Hashem Yazor, and the guy was freaked out. It turns out like he didn't have kids for 10 years or something. Like it was something, I guess, the Stipler saw in the spiritual world, that this person and his wife weren't able to have children for a very long time. So he said Hashem Yerachim both times, but everyone else he said Hashem Yazor. So I'm sure everyone has these stories they've heard about great rabbis, but it's a real thing. How did they know this? How did they have this knowledge? Sometimes they weren't even aware of it, like where it was coming from. It was just like they said something, and they didn't even. It wasn't necessarily that they understood at the time they were having Ruach HaKodesh. It was just something that was that came out, or it could be that they knew. But how did they know this thing? How did the Stipler know that my Rebbe's child was fine. Ruach HaKodesh, that's what it was. The Chavetz Chaim also had. They say the Chavetz Chaim, one day in 1933, he was davening the whole day. And at some point in the day, he said in Yiddish, it didn't work. It didn't work. And that was the day that Hitler came to power. Okay. There was another story that famously the Chavetz Chaim said about World War I. He said it's going to be a kinderspiel compared to what's going to happen. Meaning World War I is going to be like a child's play compared to what's going to happen, what will happen in the future. And obviously that did come to pass. So very holy people, they have this extra normal knowledge from a shefa, from a divine shefa coming from Hashem. Okay, let's go further. Ve'ulam, madregos al madregos nimtzo b'davar. There are many, many levels of this. Bein be'inyan koach hashefa hanishba, bein bizman hishba, whether the strength of the shefa coming from Hashem, whether what time the shefa is coming, bein b'derech hagiv al adam, how it comes to a person, ub'machus hadvarim hamizgalim v'nodim lo aydei zeh, and also the things that become revealed to the person based on this. Amnu bekulan tia hashpa b'derech sheyargish bo hamushba b'beir. But so here he says that a person will be clearly aware of his of the shefa coming to him. Okay. Achein od yikra sheyushba b'leiv ha'adam shefa she'amideu al tochen inyan mehanyanim ach lo yargish bo. Oh, so now this is the other way. So first he's saying the Ruach HaKodesh coming through a shefa that a person will be aware of. But there's also a person could have a shefa coming from Hashem and he won't feel it. He won't be able to detect it. El kamoshin ofeles machshava bilvav. Sometimes he'll just have a thought. Via v'karazeh lepa'amim aderech harchava Ruach HaKodesh. He'll just have a thought pop into his mind, and this will be Ruach HaKodesh. B'divrei chachmeinu zichron levracha o hashpa nisteres. This is what the rabbis refer to as Ruach HaKodesh, it's a concealed hashpa of Ruach HaKodesh be'emes hu shia nicker v'nirgash be'beir l'balav u'kamosh zacharnu. But true Ruach HaKodesh is something which is perceived by the person getting it. So we have Ruach HaKodesh where a person is perceiving, he's understanding that he's having this divine shefa from Hashem. And then there's other times where a person just has a thought pop into his head and he doesn't necessarily know why it's coming, where it's coming from. Sometimes, perhaps it's like this, sometimes people have a thought, not to go on a plane for some reason. They can't explain it, and then the plane, God forbid, crashes or whatever it is. Sometimes thoughts pop into people's heads. I'm just thinking now, I don't know if this is a Ruach HaKodesh the same way that the Ramchal is talking about it, but the Vilna Gaon in Megillas Esther talks a lot about how, Atzis Hashem, that Hashem put ideas into the characters of the Purim story to make them do, odd things, like when Vashti, after Achashverosh killed Vashti, Achashverosh decided that he's going to have a beauty pageant to find his next queen. That's like a very odd thing, to do. So like Hashem put the idea into Achashverosh's head, let's say, to have a beauty pageant, or I forgot which specific examples he said by the Purim story. But the whole story is just like filled with these things where characters do things that's a little out of the ordinary for them because Hashem put these ideas in his head. That Achashverosh was really just a stable boy, and now he's king, and he had to prove to everybody that he's king. So that's why he married Vashti, who was Nebuchadnezzar's granddaughter, so that he could feel really royal. And Vashti, she got the idea in her head, like, who does this guy think he is? He's only royalty because of me, and he's going to boss me around to tell me to come out and be naked in front of all his people. Because Chazal say, really, I don't know if it was Chazal, but it said that really she would have done that. She was a very immodest person. She would have no problem performing naked in front of Achashverosh and his friends. But there was an idea in her head that she's not going to go. So I don't know if that is Ruach HaKodesh. I'm just thinking aloud now if that's really Ruach HaKodesh, because here it seems like a more holy thing, and the people in the Purim story weren't exactly the holiest people. But that was just as an aside. If anyone happens to do research on this or hears anything about it, please let me know. But it sounds like here there is a level of Ruach HaKodesh where a person gets an idea in his head and he won't feel it. But the real Ruach HaKodesh is feeling this thing happening. Okay, let's go further. So that was Ruach HaKodesh. There is above this a higher level, V'hi HaNevuah, and this is prophecy. Ve'enyana sheyagia ha'adam v'yiskasher b'boris baruch shemo v'yizdavik bo dveikus mamish. What is prophecy? It means that a person connects to God and is cleaving to Him with a real connection. He is extremely close to Hashem. But often sheyargish hisdavkus v'yasig mashu b'zdavik bo, that he feels it. It's a palpable reality that the person is so close to God that he feels this connection. Like we're going to explain. And there's absolutely no doubt about this feeling that he has. Just like if I'm holding my phone in my hand, and I have no doubt that I'm holding a phone. So too, a person who's on the level of prophecy is so close to Hashem, he has zero doubt about his closeness and his connection with God at that point. Vehine, Iker Hanavuhu, the main idea behind prophecy is Hisik Hadveikus V'Hakesher Hazeh Odo B'Chaim, that when a person is still alive, when he still has a physical body which seemingly would take him away from spirituality, when he's still alive, he has this connection and this feeling, Shezeh Shleimus Gadol Vadai, which is a great, complete bond. It's perfection. It's perfection. And through this connection that he has to Hashem, he will have certain ideas and understanding. He will understand true ideas and very lofty principles from the secrets of Hashem. He will understand them with total clarity. In the similar way that we were discussing Ruach HaKodesh, of this hashpa that comes down to him, except this is ubiyoser koach and bali Ruach HaKodesh. It's a stronger understanding and a stronger feeling than Ruach HaKodesh. Like we're going to explain later, God willing. So prophecy. So first of all, the whole basis of everything. Where does a person get this? A prophet get this understanding, these ideas? A prophet means that he's getting ideas which are objectively true, 100% true. So the source of these ideas is based on his strong connection, his dveikus with Hashem. When a prophet has this dveikus with Hashem, he will get these lofty levels of understanding. And it's a much higher level of Ruach HaKodesh, of divine inspiration, what we were talking about until now. Let's do one more paragraph. Derech saga hazosi shetia aidei emsoim. However, actually, now he's getting into kind of the mechanics of prophecy, so let's actually stop for now. So we just talked about Ruach HaKodesh and Nevuah. In general, what they are, we didn't get into so many of the mechanics, but they're all based on a connection that a person has to Hashem, and a shefa that Hashem bestows upon a person, and Nevuah is a much stronger, prophecy is a much stronger level than that of Ruach HaKodesh. Okay, anyone have any questions or comments on what we learned? Okay, Shtika Kehoda once again. Thank you to everyone for coming, and have a great week. I'm looking forward to finishing this topic, learning more about it.